Today I'm going to build a learning objective mapping tool. This is a tool that lets me find evidence of meeting learning objectives in my content. So maybe I'm an instructor that maybe I wrote the content a while ago and, I need to kind of refresh my memory on how I'm meeting these particular learning objectives. Someone is asking me. Maybe I'm an instructional designer that's been given some content and some learning objectives, and I kind of want to do a quick gut check on the alignment between the two. This is something that I could do in ChatGPT, but you'll see as I go through this, there are things that I want to do with my prompt that I want to be able to keep and to share, and I don't want to have to retype them every time. And so that's where an app kind of becomes helpful here. And the output that I get is quite useful. This is what it looks like. So I put in some learning objectives. I have a faux learning objective in there. I have a lot of content that I pulled from an OER resource about representing 3D objects in 2D, which I know nothing about. And what it gives me is it gives me the learning objective that I gave it, the evidence that I have in my lesson, and how that evidence aligns to the learning objectives. And where there are gaps, it shows me that there's no content that maps this particular objective. So this is what I want in this particular case, and this is what that app helps me do. So I'm going to show how to build this app, and we're going to do this one entirely in the browser. The only two things that I need is I need a GitHub account with the repository forked, is what it's called, and I need Streamlit to be able to host this app so that I can share it. So I have both of those now. I'm in my editor in GitHub, and what I have here is all I have is just the skeleton of an app. There's no actual fields in here. I just put in a title. I put in an app intro. None of this actually does anything right now. So I'm going to add that now. So the first thing I'm going to add is a system prompt. So let's edit this file. So I'm going to put a system prompt. Let's wrap this text. So I'm going to put a system prompt that asks the application to do this. It says, you're an expert instructional designer tasked with aligning course content to specific learning objectives. I want it to identify the most relevant content from the provided materials, and then explain how that content directly contributes to the mastery of the learning objectives. And now I need a couple of fields. So I'm going to put in 3. Let me just paste them in here. So I'm going to ask the user for 3 potential things. The first is the learning objectives. Let me actually commit this. And you can see as soon as I commit this, it reflects pretty quickly. There it goes. Get that out of the way. Reflects pretty quickly in my app. So I've added 3 fields here. One is a place to enter my learning objectives. All it is just a field and a label. Another is a content area where I add potentially a lot of content. So it's a larger text area. And then I just, to show, I added a checkbox where I can turn on and off the ability to have the AI suggest content that fills gaps. Otherwise, it'll just identify gaps, not try to fill them. But I want to kind of show this option here. So here are my 3 fields. It still doesn't do anything. There's no prompt here. So let's build the prompt out now. So I'll paste this in here and I'll talk through this as well. So I made this maybe a little bit more complex than it has to be. It could just be one long prompt, but I put in a couple conditions in here again, just to kind of show some of the flexibility that I might have in this app. So the first thing I do is I ask the AI to review the content and attempt to map specific sections. Let's wrap this again. Sections of my content to learning objective. An objective can map to 0, 1, or multiple pieces of content. And I asked it just to limit the amount of text that I'm getting back, maybe to control costs a little bit. I said, give me no more than 3 pieces of content for an objective. If you find more than 3, just prioritize the most important 3. That's just to make my output more readable and relevant. Maybe you want more than that. And then here's where we have the condition. So if the user checks this box, then I want the AI to suggest content to fill gaps that it finds. And if it's unchecked, I want the AI to only flag the gap, but don't suggest any content. And then I just give the AI just format that I want. So I want each learning objective in bold, bullet points for the source text that it found, as well as a sentence reflecting the relevant content. This is the kind of thing that really helps the output because I can tell the AI exactly how I want the output formatted, but it's something that's a pain to write every single time if you're just prompting an AI, because otherwise you'll get a different, format each time you do this. And then finally, the last thing I do just simply is I give it my learning objectives and I give it my content. And so let's commit this. And we'll go back to our app and let's put in our dummy content. So like I said, I have 3 learning objectives. One is one that I know does not exist in the content. And then I have a lot of content here. There was a word counter, but in the prompt, yeah. Yeah, so we have 31,000, I think those are characters, 31,000 characters there. And I'm just going to leave this unchecked here. And when I submit this, then here I get my learning objectives laid out. Again, what is the evidence that meets this learning objective? How does it meet this learning objective? And identify learning objectives that I have not met, or at least the computer thinks that I have not met. And so this, again, in a pinch, saves me a lot of time. I can kind of review quickly content that I get or content I've written and remind myself how my content meets my objectives, maybe get a sense of how other people perceive my content meeting my objectives. And again, it's customizable, so I'm happy with this one. And I was able to build this entirely in my browser. I didn't have to download anything. It took me about 10 minutes or so. And I can use it, I can share it. And so this app, along with all the others that have been built so far, exist at appsforeducation.ai. You can check it out there.